We've all heard the term crime of passion, a sudden blinding rage, an act of jealousy. But what does that actually mean when it comes to the law? And maybe more importantly, how has modern technology totally changed the game, blurring the line between a spontaneous act and a calculated murder? Well, we're about to dive in.
It all starts right here with this chilling summary of a decision made in just a moment. 6 seconds. 6 seconds of security footage that would end one person's life and completely destroy another's. This one little clip became the absolute centerpiece of a murder trial, and it forced everyone to ask a really tough question. Was this an impulsive act of passion, or was it something much, much colder?
So this case, it really all revolves around a hidden camera and the devastating truth it brought to light. But this wasn't just about cheating. It was about power, it was about money, and about the truly desperate lengths someone would go to protect the life they'd built for themselves.
Okay, so let's meet the three key players here. First, you have Booker Vance, a 70-year-old self-made millionaire. Then there's Harper Bennett, his 36-year-old personal assistant. She'd been with him for 12 years, and as it turns out, they were having an affair. And finally, there's Lorraine Vance, Booker's wife of 35 years, who was, shall we say, very used to a certain lifestyle and was not about to let it go.
No, just look at this timeline. At 8:47 in the evening, Lorraine watches that 6-second clip on a hidden camera app. A little over an hour later, she is at Harper's apartment. And within about 15 minutes of her getting there, Harper is dead. I mean, the speed here is just staggering, and it's the main reason this was looked at as a possible crime of passion. But was there more going on?
Oh yeah, there was. There was a $14 million fortune hanging in the balance. See, according to their prenup, if Booker divorced her for any reason, Lorraine would walk away with only $2 million. She'd lose the house, the status, everything. So this brings up the critical question. Was she really acting out of a sudden, passionate rage? Or was this a calculated, financially motivated decision that she made in less than an hour?
That very question forces us to really look at the legal concept itself. I mean, for centuries, the law has wrestled with how to handle crimes that are committed in the heat of the moment. And as you'll see, its history is, well, it's complicated and often really biased.
So, legally, a crime of passion isn't some kind of get-out-of-jail-free card. Not at all. It's a defense strategy that argues there was no malice aforethought, which is just a fancy legal term for premeditation. The whole idea is that the person was so provoked, so overcome with emotion, that they just lost all self-control. And if a jury buys it, it could knock a murder charge down to manslaughter.
But here's the thing. Historically, this defense came with this huge double standard, the French Napoleonic Code from way back in 1810, which influenced laws all over the world. It explicitly made it excusable for a husband to murder his wife and her lover if he caught them in the act. But that same excuse, it was almost never available to a wife who did the exact same thing. It's just a really stark example of how the law has often baked in social biases about gender and honor.
Okay, let's fast forward to today. Because in the modern era, technology has basically become this silent witness in these cases. Our digital footprints can either completely condemn us, like they did for Lorraine Vance, or they can be manipulated to create a really sophisticated web of lies. And think about that contrast for a second. For Lorraine Vance, a camera gave the police undeniable proof of her motive and her timeline. But in another tragic case, a killer actually used the victim's own phone to send text messages trying to trick everyone into thinking she was still alive and had just run off. He was literally creating a digital alibi.
So how on earth do you prove something like that? I mean, the messages came from her phone, they used her name, they were sent to her friends and family. Well, the answer wasn't in the tech itself, it was in the language.
This is absolutely fascinating. Investigators brought in forensic linguists who analyzed years of text messages from both the victim, a woman named Amanda Burks, and her husband, Christopher. And they found these incredibly consistent, distinctive patterns, basically a linguistic fingerprint. For instance, Amanda always wrote with as a single W, but Christopher used with. She almost never used commas. He used them constantly. She wrote don't with no apostrophe. He'd shorten it to DNT.
And here it is. This is the smoking gun. On the left, you see a real text from Amanda. It's simple, no commas, using W for with. On the right, a text sent from her phone after she was already dead. Look at the style. It uses with, it has commas, it uses the number 4 for 4, all trademarks of her husband's texting style, not hers. The language itself was the key that completely unraveled his lie.
So these modern forensic tools are amazing,
but they exist alongside this huge shift in our legal and social values. The whole idea that honor or passion can be an excuse for violence, especially against women, has faced enormous pushback over the years.
Yeah, over the last several decades, there's been this wave of legal reforms that have just dismantled these old, archaic defenses. Countries started getting rid of laws that explicitly excused these killings, like Italy, believe it or not, had one on the books until 1981. The definitions of what counts as self-defense or provocation were narrowed way down, making it much, much harder to claim that a partner's cheating was a legitimate trigger for murder.
And this wasn't just a few isolated legal tweaks. We're talking about a global movement. International organizations like UN Women have been actively campaigning for countries to make sure that these defenses based on passion or culture or honor can't be used as loopholes that let perpetrators of violence against women get away with it.
So where does all of that leave us today? Well, when you combine these evolving legal standards with the incredible power of modern forensics, the entire landscape for crimes of passion has fundamentally changed.
So what's the bottom line today? Well, simply put, our digital lives leave a trail. Security cameras, like in the Vance case, and our cell phone data can pinpoint pretty much our every move. Forensic science, like linguistics, can see right through calculated deception. And, at the same time, the legal system is just way more skeptical of passion as a real defense. That line between a sudden impulse and a premeditated act is finer than it has ever been, and now we have the tools to really examine it.
Which really brings us to the final question. In an age with technology that can reveal our motives and science that can deconstruct our lies, has the so-called crime of passion become a relic of the past, something the modern world just can't afford to excuse anymore? What do you think?